This is Justin, G8YTZ, with the next in my series of videos about the BMW i3, or I should say the really fantastic BMW i3. Really enjoying owning this car, and we're going to cover in this video aspects about the portal and the iPhone app, how to register the portal when you first get your car, and also how to actually run the iPhone app and some of the things you can do with it. I hope you enjoy the video. So you've got your BMW i3 on order, and it's probably arrived at the dealer about a week before your delivery date. And if you can, try and get the vehicle's VIN number and details, registration details, etc. from the dealer in advance of actually taking delivery. That means you can register the car on the BMW portal. And as it takes a few days for the team at BMW to actually confirm your user name and password for the portal, so it's worth doing that before you actually get delivery if you can. So the way to register on the portal is fairly straightforward. You go to your browser, of course, on your PC. You go www.bmw-connecteddrive.com and hit the enter button, and that'll take you to the portal. And from there, of course, you've got to select your region. Well, we're in the UK, so we'll select Europe to start with, and then move over to the UK and hit the United Kingdom English button there, and we're taken to the portal. Now, normally on the portal there is a little piece under here, forgotten the username, asking you to register. But as you notice over here, at the time of doing this video, the portal was in a maintenance mode over the holiday, and it wasn't possible to log on to the portal and register on the portal. So in this case, you might have to ask your BMW dealer to do this in advance for you. But anyway, once you've got that, you can then, of course, register your car. Now, I've already got a username and password, so I'll log on now. So I've just logged on to the portal, and you get an indication of the car, its registration number, its all the details about the car, the range on the range extender, state of charge, etc. And there's loads and loads of things you can do on this portal, far beyond what we can do on the app, including installing apps on the car navigation system as well. So I won't go into that now. We'll go straight over to the app and explain how to set the app up on an iPhone. So when BMW have got back to you and you've got a login, username and password for the BMW portal, you can then set up the BMW i app. To do that, you first need to go to the App Store and bring that up, and then go to search. And the best thing to search for is BMW iRemote. In fact, there it is. And that'll bring up the icon, and you want to download the iRemote app. I've already downloaded it, so it's showing it's already in my cloud, but for demonstration purposes, let's download the iApp. And here it comes. Hopefully I'm on Wi-Fi, so it should be fairly quick. And I would say about the BMW i app, occasionally BMW do updates, and it's actually quite important to delete the old app and reinstall it again when an app update comes. There's been 2 updates where the app hasn't run because the updates had a change in the database, so it's worth just deleting the old app and installing the new one when that happens. Anyway, there we go. We can now open the application, and here we go into BMW i. Obviously, there's a data privacy information to accept here, and it asks you to enter the username and password, which I'll do now. So I've entered the username and password that BMW sent me through a text message, and then the next screen that comes up is that asking me to enter a PIN for the application. So I'll just for this demonstration enter a simple PIN. I would thoroughly recommend you go for a more secure PIN than this, but I'll do this again just for the demonstration. And again, select your BMW and then you'll be updating. Now you'll notice that the app initially comes up in kilometers, etc. So you might just want to go into the settings, change to English if you're in England. And also you've got this slider here where you can use the Touch ID instead of having to enter the PIN number for the application as well. That's worth setting as well. And after that we can close, and we have access now to the car. Now the other thing about using an app with your BMW i3, it's very, very important. The security of your iPhone, or for that matter your Android, is absolutely top notch. And I would thoroughly recommend that you set a strong PIN entry code on your iPhone. So to do that we go into settings and we scroll down to Touch ID and passcode. This is an iPhone 6. It asks us to enter the passcode. So passcode entered, you can hit the return button, and you can see I've got 2 fingers set up on my fingerprint. And the important thing to have on this is to switch off the simple passcode feature on this slider here. Switch that off and make sure you enter a complex passcode, and you've also backed that up with your fingerprint ID. So they're the basic security precautions you should make when using an app that can control and unlock and lock your car. So the only last thing to do now is to move the app to the position you want on your menu screens, which I've done. I've put it halfway down on the right hand side of my first screen, and then I can stop the icons shaking by pressing the home key again. So once you've got the BMW iRemote app installed and configured, when you come to use it, it's pretty straightforward. You can see my iRemote app is on the right hand side of my screen, about halfway down. So I'm going to press the icon in a normal way. This is an iPhone 6, so the application will actually ask me if I want to use the Touch ID or enter the password. You have to configure this, but I'm using the Touch ID. And there'll be a quick update to the status of the vehicle. And there we can see the latest update of the status, which was at 1750. That's the last time the vehicle contacted the server. And we can see that the charging is 100% completed on the vehicle. Now if we tap the charge level whilst the car was charging, we'd actually get an indication of the estimated time to fully charged. So we'll actually see the time in 24-hour clock mode of what it will be when it's fully charged. We can see the electric range there. Now if we tap the electric range, we can actually see the range of the range extender on the Rex vehicles, which is 55 miles in this case. The tank is a little over half full. It'll go up to about 95 miles when it's absolutely full and it's nice weather, etc, etc. And on the right we can see a set departure time mode. Now I'll talk about that in a second. If you get to the vehicle, you'll see to the left there's a little green circle around a charging plug, and that is actually replicating the charging port on the car itself. So green is showing we're fully charged. If it was flashing, it would say the charging is in progress, but if it's flashing red, that would show as a charging error, and you'd also get notified on the screen of the iPhone as well that there's a charging error. You needed to go out and look at what's going on. Now, normally when you get a charging error, the simple solution is to unplug the charger and plug it back in again. Like most things that involve technology, switching them off and on again is a pretty good place to start. It rarely happens, but just does happen sometimes. And at the bottom of the screen, we see a cog which has got all our settings in it, and then to the left we've got a remote control function. So let's look at the remote control quickly. Hit remote control, and we see we've got a few functions here. There's a preconditioning function, and what that will do is you hit that button up to half an hour before the time you want to leave, then it'll put the heater on or it'll put the air conditioning on and precondition the vehicle. So if you've parked up somewhere, particularly if you've plugged in, you can come back to a nice warm or a nice cool car, depending on the weather. The other function you've got is the headlight flasher. That's actually quite useful if you can't see where the car is in a multi-storey car park. So let's demonstrate that now. We press the headlamp flasher. We get a little icon at the bottom that says perform now. And we'll see the car communicating to the BMW server in a secure manner, and then the server communicating to the car. And if we have a look outside in a minute, we will see that the headlights on the car flash as well. So let it do that piece, and we should get confirmation that that instruction has been done. So it takes a little time sometimes. Depends how good the cellular reception is in the area you're in, so or how busy the servers are. Usually it's a bit quicker than this, but today we're on a little bit of a go slow. But here we are, it's done, and the headlight flasher will now flash the lights on the car. You can also see you've got lock and unlock the vehicle. If you've left the keys inside or done something, or you need to get into the vehicle and you haven't got the keys with you. I mean, I don't know. I suppose the wife's got the keys or something, and you need to get in there to get something out. Then through the app you can unlock the vehicle, and then again you can lock it again afterwards, and that's a really, really useful function. Just mention once again preconditioning. It'll precondition the car to warm it up or cool it down on the interior. What this button will not do, and this is really important to note, it will not precondition the battery. The only way you can precondition the battery and get the battery to normal operating temperature to increase range before you set off is to set that on the timer function, which we'll show later. Anyway, we'll close this screen for now. We'll go into the, by tapping the vehicle, we're going to go into another screen, which gives the status of the car. It shows the total mileage on the car. It shows if the doors are locked, the windows are closed, the sunroof's closed, the trunk's closed, the lights are off, and it'll all show you the the status of the vehicle, when the next service is required, and when the next brake fluid is required as well. So it's not until 2017 on this car, so we've got a little time to go yet. But very useful if you've worried you've left the windows open or the doors unlocked. You can have a quick look and say, yep, no, it is locked. But if you've left it open, you can go back and say, hey, I'll go and fix it by using the remote control app. So very, very useful functions there. What we're going to do now is swipe the whole screen left, or to the right I should say. We're swiping left, and we've got some efficiency ratings here. So it's showing our last drive in the car was actually up to the garden centre and back, but the last drive resulted in a 44% efficiency. In other words, we weren't driving in the most economical way possible. That'll go up to 100% if you're driving really economically. So if we look at the statistics, we can have a look at our driving function. We've switched on the community function as well, and we can see the consumption last trip was 4 miles per kilowatt hour. In other words, for every kilowatt hour of energy we used, we could travel 4 miles. So based on a 20 kilowatt battery, you can see how we get to the kind of range we've got displayed on the car. The recuperation is another function there to the right as well. I'll talk about that in a second. But if you look at the bottom and all trips, that's showing our average for all the trips made in the car is 3.9 miles per kilowatt hour. And below that, you'll see what the average in the community is, of 3.6 miles per kilowatt hour. So we're actually a few percentage points ahead of what other people with i3s do, which is kind of nice to know. That's probably because we make more long trips in it than probably other people do. If we go into recuperation, this is the regenerative braking. So what's that actually saying is for every 15.5 miles driven, we've recuperated a kilowatt hour. In other words, we've saved a kilowatt hour through using the regenerative braking, not using the brake pedal, but actually lifting off from the throttle and slowing down using regeneration. And again, at the bottom, you can see for our average on the car is 30.6 miles per kilowatt generated, but the community average is somewhat less. It's 16.7 miles driven for every kilowatt, and that's again probably more a reflection of the fact we tend to do longer trips on the motorway in this car than short round town trips. I've seen this get down to sort of 7 or 8 miles per kilowatt hour when driving around town. The next screen shows the electric distance driven on the last trip, which was an 8.7 mile trip. And again, you can see all trips, total electric distance driven. So the total that we've driven in this car is 1228 miles, and the average in the community is 5221 miles. And they're electric miles; they're not miles using the range extender. And the last screen, which you can tap, you can swipe these as well actually. But the electric distance driven since last charge, well, that's 0, of course, because we've just charged. But then at the bottom, you can see the maximum distance we've driven on electricity has been 79.2. This car is fairly new. In the old car, actually, we got up to 86.4 as the longest electric. Which means when the vehicle gets down to 6% charge, the range extender kicks in. So on 86.4 miles, we did, we got down to 6%. So that's probably approaching something like a 90-mile range on electricity. And it's important to note that the battery-only vehicles, are lighter, and they'll probably top over 100 miles. That's quite realistic. And then you can see the average in the community. So the average in the community, the average maximum anyone else has driven is 72.4. Some people have done less, some people do more. It can be very dependent on the weather. So if it's winter conditions, of course, that will be lower. And if it's summer, it can be higher. So, but that's the whole community. What I'm not sure is whether that's just Europe or whether it's the whole world. But anyway, there's that. The other thing you've got, there's a little piece called information up here. You can actually have a look and get some more information about how to drive the vehicle. So there's hints and tips there in how to drive efficiently on the car, which are quite useful. So we close this screen and come out of this. I will also very quickly recap by pressing the cog button in the bottom right hand corner, and this cog button is just showing the type of some of the setup of the app. I can change the pin if I want to by hitting that button. It'll ask me if I want to enter a new pin. I can switch on or off the Touch ID if you've got an iPhone 6 or 5S or 6 Plus or one of the iPads with a Touch ID feature. There's a little bit about your BMW dealer, where it was bought from, and how to connect to them. And by sending the vehicle, actually, you can actually send that to the navigation in the vehicle, which is kind of useful as well. BMW routes, community is on. Yeah, we've seen that already. Units, I've got English units set because guess what? We're in England, so that means miles and the like. And there's some other bits here, mobility services, etc. as well, which just takes you to the BMW website as well, with some more information about the vehicle. So if we go back into that now, I've entered password again, of course, and let's close and come out of that. And what we're going to do is swipe right over to we'll swipe left twice, and we're going to go right over to the map. And this is quite cool actually. The map function it enables actually to, I could, for example, enter a postcode here or a place. Let's put in a previous destination, which happens to be the Ecotricity charger at the Pease Pottage Services in Crawley. And if I'm happy with that, then I could actually say, right, we'll go into there and look at that, and then we could send it to vehicles and navigation destination. And so you can enter any postcode, or you can cut and paste from Google Maps if you want to. And there's the address that has been sent to the vehicle, and it'll come up on messages in the vehicle. And you can also, there's a few other tricks you can play with Google Maps. You can use something called Google Send a Car, which I'll show how to do that on another session. So there's the idea. And if we go into navigation, it will show the current vehicle position and indeed the last vehicle destination that was put into the navigator on the car as well. So there's some nice features there in the app. I think it's a really super app. There are actually a few other things I could show you as well. You see in this screen here, we can press that little icon there, which is the two arrows pointing in, and that's actually showing the range of the vehicle. So from where it's located at the minute in southeast London, you can see that we could drive to Ipswich. Now the two lines mean, the inner line means that's the comfort range, and the outer line means that that's the Eco Pro range. So if you switch the car into a more economical driving mode, and we've got enough there to get to Southampton, electricity to Oxford, Northampton even, right away from southeast London, which is quite impressive, I think. And here we are. That's the current vehicle location. And there's another feature. We can start looking at charging stations as well. That bottom right hand icon there with the pages, and we can start looking at various charging stations and their availability as well. And that's in fact, if I go back and press the current vehicle destination, press that again, we should get the nearest charging stations are available. Actually, they're not the nearest, so I don't know what's going on there. Anyway, quick roundup of the app, and I hope you find that useful. This is about preconditioning the vehicle, and it's one really important thing to note about this. When you set the departure time in advance of the night before, etc., on the timer, then the car will not only precondition the interior if you've set that option, but it also precondition the battery, and that's really important for range, especially in the winter. It's not so important in the summer, but in the winter, these batteries perform best when they're between about 75 and 100 Fahrenheit, which is about 25 to 40 Celsius. So setting the departure time is actually a really good idea. So if we go into that icon, it brings up a screen, and there's a few useful things here. Firstly, you've got 3 time slots you can set. And second, you've got a preconditioning button as well. Now, the preconditioning button is the button which enables the cooling or heating of the interior of the car. These timers will precondition the battery, whether that's on or off. But if that's off, it won't warm up or cool down the car. So do bear that in mind. So if we, for example, go into the first icon and select the time we want to leave, let's say 06:15, okay, and I can either set to once, so tomorrow morning at 6:15 it'll do it once and never do it again, or we can set the repeat option. So I could say, right, we'll do that on Thursday and Friday, because it's Thursday and Friday, and let's say Wednesday as well. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I leave at 6:15, okay. So there we have indication of the days you've selected. As I say, the preconditioning, if you want the car warmed up for you as well, or cooled down if it's a hot country, then do set the preconditioning. You can see the little fan icons appear within the display there. Now we could go on and say, right, let's look at another time as well. Let's go into this one, and let's say other days of the week, I leave at, say, Monday and Tuesday. I decide to leave at 0600, so I press the repeat there, hit Monday and Tuesday, and then Monday and Tuesday be set as well. And then, say, on the weekend, when I leave the house, I go a little bit later, or you can set whatever you like, but I think you get the idea. So there's another icon here, another slide here for low-cost charging. Now what that means is if you want to set the charge slot for, I don't know, midnight to 6 a.m, etc., if you're using economy 7 or an off-peak tariff, then you can set that as well. I don't bother with that because we haven't got economy 7. So when you're happy that everything's set on this screen as you want, then you can just press the send button at the top there, and you'll see a little blue banner at the top of the screen here saying it's sending the settings to the vehicle. And once those settings are received and acknowledged by the vehicle, that banner will change green and confirm that that function has actually been done. So let's wait for that for a couple of seconds. Again, it's a bit variable the amount of time it takes. Sometimes it's really quick, sometimes a bit slower. Depends on the cellular network. It depends on how busy the BMW servers are, all sorts of things. So it can take a little while. It also depends on where the car's parked. If it's parked in a black hole for cellular reception, guess what? It probably won't work at all. But it's not quite 100%. It's about 95% of the time it works perfectly. And we can see it's updating the status again now, so that's a good sign. We've seen the icon change to green at the top, and we've also seen the time 06:15 on the 8th of the 4th, which is tomorrow, being set as well. So all done, we're ready to go. Just want to re-emphasize one thing. If you set the car to precondition using the timer in this way, the battery will also be preconditioned. In other words, what you'll find is the battery will be warmed up if it's a cold day. It'll be warmed up, and as it warms up, it will be able to take more charge. So you'll actually see the charge percentage go down on the vehicle, and the battery will be able to take some extra charge. You'll also find the battery's at full performance when you move away. You'll get your full regenerative braking, and you'll get your full acceleration as well. So it's really, really worth doing that. If you use the other icon to precondition, where you just do it ad hoc, like, oh, I'm going to the car in 15 minutes, so therefore I want it warm or cool as appropriate, and hit the preconditioning button here, then that will not precondition the battery, and you won't get the advantage of the extra range that you can by preconditioning the battery. Preconditioning the battery, really only important in cold weather. But I think nights tend to be cooler. It's probably worth doing, especially if you're going to do a longer journey the next day.